Welcome to Interludes with Chris Mackenzie. And once again at Golden Days Radio, we have Bud Tingwell. Wow. Actor extraordinaire man, an extraordinary man, still going strong. And he's not a youth anymore.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I confess, yes.
And at your age, to be doing the number of things that you are doing and still involved in and still loving is absolutely wonderful. It's a great sort of icon, but also that people, if you can do it, why can't I routine?
Yeah, I really am having a ball. It's been extraordinary ever since we made The Castle, which I had to introduce on Sunday at a fundraiser for the Royal Flying Doctor Service, and I had to introduce Tulip, the lovely little film I did with Rachel Griffiths writing and directing, and then The Castle was the main feature. And watching it again, gee whiz, it's a beautiful little movie. But when it came out, we got this extraordinary reaction. A bit controversial sometimes. I know David Stratton gave it 1.5 stars because it's not funny, and Margaret gave it 4.5 stars because I thought it was wonderful.
Yes.
And David goes, no, it's not funny. And I'm sitting there at home saying it doesn't have to be. It's about people losing their house, But when I saw it again, the work in it is marvellous, and it was such a fast shoot.
Yeah.
So there we are, and. How did I get onto that?
But no, well, actually,
I'm not old. I'm just
not old. Just
falling apart.
Just for a little forgetful. But you, the last we were talking about, you've just made a movie called Inside Story, but it hasn't been released yet.
Yeah, that's Rob Sutherland. I think I forgot to mention Rob's name. He's a fine filmmaker, young man. Got a lot of experience behind cameras and doing all sorts of other things, but he came up with this beautiful script called Inside Story.
Well, we wait for it.
And he sent it to me, and he won Best Screenplay at the Writers Guild Awards before the film was released. So
Really?
Oh, yes.
When is it going to be released?
Well, I'm hoping soon, but I think he's probably quite rightly hanging back for a reasonable, deal or something.
Yes, absolutely. So you said you've been doing a bit of theatre, and you mentioned just nonchalantly you were doing Cat in the Hot Tin Roof.
Oh, yes, that was very important to me.
Who was doing that with you?
Who did we have? Oh, my golly. A lovely Irene Inniscourt was playing Big Mama, and Victoria Longley played the girl, and Nick Eady was my son, and was directed by Roger Hodgman, and I learnt about pasta doing that, because we had a preview one night when I was very tired, and my wife and I had been tending an elderly uncle who lived on the other side of Melbourne, and we had to get him out of hospital and get my wife back home. I had a cup of tea and a piece of cake, raced in and did Big Daddy, very tired. And Roger Hodgman said, a bit down. I said, well, I told him what had happened. He said, look, you've got to eat a lot for a big role. I said, no, I like to eat after the show, And he said, no. And it was, anyhow, I got home that night and I said to my son, who was a physicist and a PhD and all that, I said, look, if it wasn't a play and it was a marathon, what would I eat to give me maximum energy? He said, a big plate of pasta, rice and potato. So the next afternoon,
Really?
at 5 o'clock, Audrey cooked me this big bowl of pasta, rice and potato, and I could have done that play 10 times the next night. So I raced him, what the heck's that? And he gave me the lecture about complex carbohydrates and how the Institute of Sport in Canberra is doing a lot of tremendously interesting stuff. And now that's many years ago. It's 12 years ago since I did Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, and I've stuck. No, it's not the exclusive diet, but I know when I get back today, or so if when my daughter's over helping me, we'll just cook up a bowl of pasta, a bit of tomato sauce on it, and that does you for the rest of the afternoon. And you can almost feel it kick in about 3 or 4 hours later.
And so you've been basically keeping that the diet.
Yeah. It's not an exclusive diet, but any time when I was doing Man from Snowy River, I needed a bit of energy for that, so I always timed it. And I remember one show when I was feeling a bit tired, and I'd had my bowl of pasta about 4 hours before, and suddenly halfway through the show, I suddenly, whoa, and I practically beat the horses around the arena next time. No, it was great. It is great. But I don't suggest that people do it exclusively because it may not be good for them. But check with your doctor, as they say on the label of everything that's supposed to be good for you. But it is a good idea. Check with your doctor. But a bowl of pasta is not going to do you too much harm.
Did you ever do any other those plays in the genre of the Cat in a Hot Tin Roof?
I did, particularly in England. I did Cane Mutiny Court Martial playing Queeg at the famous, lovely theatre in Leatherhead. I think that's the Sybil Thorndike. Mm-hmm. And the next person in our following my season, there were 3-week seasons, I think, was Cliff Richard, about to do 5-finger exercise.
Oh, right.
So that's the lovely thing about working in the UK. You didn't have to be on the West End all the time. You could be doing plays in these marvellous theatres that are out now. Whether they're still there or not, I don't know. But they were then.
I think it's time you went back and checked it out, isn't it?
No, well, I'll rig somebody up. That'll do.
Well, let's play the first bit of music and then we can talk about it. Okay.
She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves Beat Life. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, but yeah. Now,
Beatles.
Apart from loving their music, you did actually visit them, or
No,
you didn't.
No. When I said to John, I said, "Listen, John, no. Now, what happened? This was early. This is the early '60s, and the medical series I was doing was at its height." And suddenly, we all one by one in the cast, and I remember Audrey and I watching, telly, just one of the many variety shows, and suddenly this young group popped up, and we were mad about them. Not so much their music, it was just their good humour, their cheekiness, their sort of slight irreverence and the fabulous personality of John Lennon as really the leader of the group, whether he liked it or not. Then we started, and then when we at work, we were all saying, "Hey, they're Beatles," and they'd be this. Well, no, I don't like their music. Some would say, but you could feel the consensus around the country. But at the same time, we were slightly suspicious because if, as a group, our cast went anywhere, we'd be mobbed like proper movie stars.
Yep.
Used to be mobbed in the old days, and. Then we started to see a front page item on a newspaper saying Beatles mobbed outside stage door, 300 fans clamouring for autographs. We said 300, that's nothing. And so I made some crack one day. I said, I suppose Brian Epstein's hired the Prime Minister's public relations firm, and Harold Macmillan was in those days. And this person said, "How did you know that?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, he has." And so, if they got caught a cold or something, it was front page news. But they were such a great group, it worked.
Yeah.
And as my London agent years later said, get a publicity agent. I wrote a play and took it out on tour and things like that. And boy, the difference it makes. I mean, you could get, but wherever we went as a group, we stopped traffic and, it was amazing. But we thought nothing of it. We thought everybody did.
This was the Emergency Ward 10
Yeah,
group,
that's
yes.
right. Yeah, sure. Well, we were number one show and we had 27 million viewers per episode. And we didn't quite know that for a while. There weren't that many articles about, television in those days. But this is in the old days, way back.
But you did go to the Cavern to see them.
Well, this happened because I was on tour with the play. Dame Anne and Eagle and I were playing the leads in a play written by a mate of mine called David Butler, and the play was called Person Unknown. And we were playing Liverpool, and the people who ran the Cavern, the original Cavern, before it was bulldozed or whatever they did to it years later, said, "Would you two mind coming down and appearing on stage?" There's a group there called the Mojos, and we were hoping to promote them, and we thought, well, that'd be interesting. Went down, and we went into the original Cavern and had to get up on stage and chat a bit and talk to the audience, and then the Mojos came on, and then we met them after and had a cup of tea with them after the show and a bit of a chat. And they were beaut young blokes. They were Liverpool University students. And they were trying to decide whether to continue with that career or go back to what they were doing at uni. And I think they did about a year as a pop group, and then I'm pretty sure they all went back and finished up being brain surgeons or whatever they were doing at uni. And but it was a very happy memory, and that Cavern had a wonderful atmosphere, but it was nobody knew about it somehow. You know, it was just, oh, isn't this interesting? The tunnels leading off and what were air raid shelters. They were cellars before that and probably a smuggler's storage centuries before. Amazing place. But sadly it was bulldozed or pulled down or redeveloped, and I think they've had to build another look-alike one since then.
Oh, it's not the same, though,
Not quite
is it?
the same.
No.
And the
not-
acoustics were superb in it, of course.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, that's always a bit of a thing. Now, there's another piece of music that I think is going to bring back some more memories for you.
I have heard among this clan you are called the Forgotten Man.
Is that what they're saying?
Well, did you ever?
What a swell party this is.
And have you heard the story of a boy, a girl, unrequited love?
Sounds like pure soap
I
opera.
may cry. Tune in tomorrow.
What a swell party this is. What frails, what frocks,
What broads,
what furs, what rocks.
they're beautiful.
Why, I've never seen such gaiety.
Neither did I.
It's all just too exquis, really.
This French champagne.
Domestic, so good for the brain.
That's what I was gonna say.
You know you're a brilliant fellow.
Thank you.
Drink up, Jack. Please don't eat that glass, my friend. Have you heard about dear Blanche? Got run down by an avalanche.
No.
Don't worry, she's a game girl, you know. Got up and finished fourth.
This kid's got guts.
Having a nice time? Grab a line.
Have you heard that Mimsy Star?
Oh, what now?
She got pinched in the Astor bar.
Sauced again, eh?
She was stoned.
Well, did you ever?
Never.
What a swell party this is.
It's great.
Oh, it's great.
It's grand.
So grand. It's wonderland.
La
La da 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 ya da dum bum bum. La da 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 ya da dum bum. La da 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 ya da dum. We sing so rare,
too rare.
like old camembert, like Barbaroom. Bum 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 bum.
Don't take that kind of crooning, chum.
Have you heard it's in the stars? Next July we collide with Mars. Well, did you ever? What a swell party, a swell party, a swelligan, elegant party this is.
Bud, singing along here. You're
Oh,
swell.
look, that's
Yes,
great. I
wonderful.
tell you what, like the Beatles, one of the wonderful things about the Beatles, apart from their skill, was this tremendous good humour that they all had. And the thing about Sinatra and Crosby and that wonderful number from High Society, this great good humour, but if you look at it very closely, he said as a senior actor, the performance in it is really superb. Sinatra singing as if drunk, brilliant. That's
Yeah.
a great performance. I said, the negative people say, I suppose he was drunk on the set. No way would you be drunk on the set in Hollywood. Whoa. And, oh no.
No.
And they're just great. They were terrific. And I love, and Audrey and I, whenever I'm asked for music and things, it's my daughter who's, don't forget Mum's one. We call it, swell party or something, but
Yes.
it's whatever.
It's called Did You Ever?
Did You Ever? Of
Yeah,
course,
right.
that's the correct title. That's why when I say I want a number called What a Swell Party, and they say no, we can't find it because I keep asking for the wrong title. It's Did You Ever? I must
Yes,
remember that.
that's
really.
right. Well, there we are. They're
Oh, no,
they're
that
a
was-
great pair,
Yeah.
aren't they? And that's now. I recently was lucky and twice and went to see you in The Carer, which I thought was marvellous. I thought the writing, Alan Hopgood. The writing
yeah.
was fantastic, and you were fantastic, more fantastical.
Oh, that's wonderful of you. No, that's been an extraordinary experience. That we did it as a rehearsed reading in October '99 at that lovely place, Chapel Off Chapel.
Yeah.
And it was directed by the late Peter Adams. He was a very sick man, and he died not long after. I used to direct Peter a lot in shows, in Cop Shop particularly, in which he played the lead.
Right.
Now, it was slightly tricky because I'm sure his wife Kirsty won't mind me saying this, but I couldn't sort of talk back too much because we knew how ill Peter was and how courageous he was, walking in, doing all the stuff and, as a director, and so I couldn't say, what do you mean, I want to play it this way, and couldn't really argue with him as I probably would normally do. So I had to go with what he wanted. And what he wanted was dead right for that show. Well, I did it with the book in my hand, as we say, one performance. Peter got up and made the most marvellous introduction for it himself, made an excellent speech about it. We had a full house, and we got this fantastic reaction, which I think worried a few people. They didn't think it was going to be quite that huge, the laughs and things like that. So it was decided to do a proper full production in a few months' time, and sadly, by the time we got to it, Peter had died. But I discovered that whenever we tried to change anything, it wasn't as good as what Peter wanted, the original simple thing. And sometimes that was caused by me one morning at rehearsal saying, hey, now hang on, I'm going to have the book in my hand. Don't tell me to pour a drink and then open the door, do whatever I had to do. I've got to do everything one-handed. So we all agreed on that. And Alan and between the three of us, Alan Hopgood, who is a fine director himself and a fine actor, of course, and would be superb in The Carer, himself, the three of us sort of agreed on that. So that resulted in a simplicity that has worked wherever we've done it. And I think for our first season, they hired Joy Mitchell as a sort of the next director, and poor Joy, whenever she suggested a change, I would doggedly say, no, we'll do it the way Peter wanted. And then Don McKay came in for another season. I said, no, I want to do it the way Peter wanted. But I mean, I've been doing it now for over 3 years. On and off, we do a season here, a season there. I did a season, a country tour of South Australia. When was it? About September. And then finished that and went straight into the Man from Snowy River Arena Spectacular with about 100 of us in front of the audience, plus horses. And then as soon as that finished, I went back to doing another season of The Carer. It's been an amazing experience, very uplifting play, and I love the humour in it. I love to hear the laughs, and a lot of people have said, who went through a sort of grieving experience, saying, oh, we loved it so much because it taught us a lot, and it taught us that there were wonderful things to laugh about in memory when you're thinking of loved ones. There are marvellous things to remember that are not just all doom and gloom and sadness.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, let's go to The Man from Snowy River, because that was fabulous. Oh, yes, I loved it.
Look, I can't believe at my age I've had such two enormous experiences as The Carer and Man from Snowy River. I mean, I pinch myself sometimes.
It was a huge show.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure I'm going to wake up one morning and say, gee, I had a beaut dream. I dreamt I was in a show with lots of horses and lots of... It was wonderful. It was just a wonderful thing to be involved in. And it wasn't complete when we started rehearsing it. We had a wonderfully complete structure, but not every scene had all the dialogue written, and then every now and again David Atkins would say, I'll bring us some extra lines tomorrow, and we'd slot those in. And that beautiful cast we had with Martin Cruz, who's got to be, wow, the next big... Oh, what a marvellous actor. Became a wonderful horseman, very good dancer, lovely singer. Georgie Parker was superb as the daughter. And and working with Lee Kernaghan, people like that, and Steve Bisley, fabulous.
Can we hear what Lee Kernaghan? He's going to play the Electric Rodeo.
Great.
Life is like a rodeo. That ride can throw you around. It can take you to the heavens or send you crashing to the ground. And it's not a dress rehearsal, it's learning as you go. And I'm just another rider in this electric rodeo. Put on your boots and saddle, ride that Mustang out the chute. Sometimes you wait, sometimes you electric rodeo. I can't promise there'll be no hurting, I only wish I could. There'll be times I let you down with someone less than I should. Girl, this life I give you, it's the only life I know. And I wanna ride with you forever on this electric rodeo. Put on your boots and saddle, ride that Mustang out the chute. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but you gotta take your chances and give that dice a throw when you ride the electric rodeo.
The Electric Rodeo with Lee Kernaghan from that wonderful show, The Man from Snowy River.
Oh, that was a great experience.
It was fantastic. I mean, anybody who missed it,
Yeah.
you've missed something, one of the best bits of showmanship and everything
yes,
that you will see for a long time.
We've made a DVD, I think is the term
Really?
of it. Yes, the last few performances in Brisbane, two very great ex-colleagues of mine from Crawford's now, a very distinguished Hollywood director of photography, Simon Windsor and David Egby, they were there, and they hired in lots of cameras, and we've got a DVD coming out on at the end of it all. On the last performance on the Sunday night in Brisbane, we did stop and start a little bit just to give them some extra shots, and the audience were made aware of this and charged half price or something. But Simon told me he's got 40 hours of amazing material on videotape to cut down to a sort of 2.5 hour show. So I hope they get it right. But it was just great. And I mean, the things that horse whispering scene when Martin Cruz breaks in the horse the way he wants to without, and I've sacked him just before because he won't break in the horse in the way I want him to, the tough way.
Yeah.
And he goes back that night and talks to that horse, and that horse has been so fiery, it's been up on its hind legs and trying to attack him, and then he goes back, and it was almost like a love scene, and I couldn't watch it.
No, oh no.
I get a lump in my throat now thinking about it.
How many
Amazing.
horses were there?
There were about 40
total.
About 40 horses, and there was, if that wonderful white horse that came galloping
Yes.
down, and then when Martin came down the same track. Now Martin is a fine actor who learnt to be a fine horseman for that show. Marvellous to watch. I don't think I've ever seen so many skills together. There's Steve Jeffries, who did that opening ride at the Olympics. Steve trained the
did
horse
he?
whispering horse. Many of his horses were there, and all the riders were highly skilled people. I used to just, as I think I said before, that I couldn't believe I was in it. It was just a wonderful thrill.
Absolutely marvellous. We're of course, running out of time again, which is a blasted nuisance.
That's my fault, sorry.
No, we wouldn't have...
Get the book. If I ever do the book, get the book.
Get the book. Well, there are those of us who would like it the whole thing to come back again, but whether it will or not, who knows?
Yeah, sure.
But anyway, Bud Tingwell, how lovely to have you back here at Golden Days Radio, and thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Bless you. Bye-bye. You've been listening to Interludes.